Imagine for a moment that you are walking through a city you have known your entire life. The same streets, the same houses, the same people greeting you with familiar smiles. But there is something different today, not in the world around you, but in you. It's as if an invisible layer that has always covered your eyes has been removed, and now you see with a clarity that cuts like a blade. Conversations that once seemed important turn out to be empty. The goals that drove your mornings appear to be artificial. And you realize with a mixture of terror and liberation that you have awakened to something that most prefer to keep dormant, the naked truth of human existence. Albert Camus would call this moment an awakening to the absurd. This is when the veil of social illusions, comforting conventions and manufactured certainties falls apart before our eyes. And then we discover that whoever awakens to the truth ends up living among ruins. Not the ruins of stone and lime, but the ruins of everything that once gave meaning to life. It is a painful, lonely, but paradoxically liberating awakening. Have you ever had this experience of looking at your daily routine and wondering why you do what you do? I'm not talking about temporary dissatisfaction or weekend fatigue. I'm talking about that moment when you stop, really stop, and question yourself about the deep meaning of your actions. Why do we wake up at the same time every day? Why do we fulfill the same obligations? Why do we pursue the same goals we were taught to pursue? And even more disturbing, why do we rarely ask these questions? Camus understood that society works as a great distraction mechanism. It offers us ready-made objectives, pre-established values, outlined paths. Work, get married, have children, buy a house, save money for retirement, be a good person. These are the pillars that support social architecture, and most people live their entire lives within this structure without ever questioning it. Not because it's bad to question, but because questioning means facing the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there are no definitive answers. The man who awakens, according to Camus, is the one who suddenly realizes the artificiality of these constructions. He looks at the people rushing through the streets, pursuing their everyday goals, and feels a strange sense of detachment. It's like watching a movie that you were part of, but now you're watching from the outside. You see the actors playing their roles with conviction, but you realize they are just roles. And most disturbingly, you were also acting. This perception is not accompanied by superiority or arrogance. On the contrary, it comes with a deep loneliness. Because waking up often means waking up alone. It means seeing what others don't see, questioning what others accept, seeking authenticity where others find comfort in conformity. And this creates an abyss between you and the world you previously inhabited naturally. Think about the person who, after years of a successful career, suddenly wonders if it really matters. Not a passing crisis, but a fundamental question. She looks at her colleagues discussing promotions and bonuses with the same seriousness as always, and feels as if she is watching a play. The dialogues are the same, the gestures are familiar, but now she sees the artificiality of the staging, and he realizes that he was also acting. Or consider that person who, in the middle of a party full of laughter and lively conversations, feels a strange melancholy, not because the party is bad, but because he sees something performative in all that joy. As if everyone is following a social script about how to behave, what to say, how to react. And she, who previously followed the same script naturally, now sees the threads that move the dolls, including herself. Camus knew that this awakening is inevitable for some people. It's not a conscious choice, like deciding to change careers or cities. It is something that happens, often gradually, other times suddenly. One day you are perfectly integrated into your world, the next you are observing that same world through the eyes of a foreigner. And then he understands that he was always a foreigner, he just didn't know it. The ruins among which the awakened one lives are not visible to the naked eye. They are the ruins of the certainties that once organized your life, the ruin of the belief that there is a right path to follow, the ruin of the illusion that social conventions have solid foundations, the ruin of the hope of finding a definitive and unquestionable meaning for existence. But herein lies the genius of Camusian philosophy. He does not invite us to despair in the face of these ruins. On the contrary, it suggests that it is precisely among them that we discover our authentic freedom. When false foundations crumble, when manufactured certainties reveal themselves to be illusory, when ready-made answers lose their strength, Then we finally have space to build something genuine. Living among ruins, from Camus' perspective, means accepting the absence of cosmic guarantees about the meaning of life. It means recognizing that there is no divine or natural instruction manual that tells us how to live. It means understanding that we are fundamentally free to create our own values, our own meanings, our own way of being in the world. And that freedom is simultaneously terrifying and magnificent. The awakening person often goes through a period of disorientation. After all, when you realize that the maps you use to navigate through life are inaccurate, you need to learn to walk without them. This creates anxiety, uncertainty, a feeling of being lost in a world that once seemed familiar. It's like leaving a house you knew by heart in the dark and discovering that the arrangement of the furniture has completely changed. During this period, it is common for the person to feel tempted to go back, returning to old certainties even though we know they are artificial. Because living in illusion at least offers comfort. Living in truth, on the other hand, requires constant courage. Courage to face uncertainty, to create meaning where there is no pre-given meaning, to be authentic in a world that rewards conformity. Camus observed that many people, when faced with this absurd reality of existence, opt for one of three alternatives. The first is suicide, the complete refusal to continue living in a reality without intrinsic meaning. The second is what he called philosophical suicide, the escape into belief systems that promise definitive answers, whether through religion, political ideology, or any other form of intellectual escapism. The third alternative, and the one that Camus defended, is revolt. Revolt does not mean violence or destruction. It means refusing to accept both despair and false consolations. It means saying yes to life, even though you know it offers no guarantees. It means creating beauty, seeking justice, cultivating solidarity, not because there is a cosmic reason to do so, but precisely because we choose to do so. It is an act of rebellion against the absurd, not to eliminate it, but to affirm it, and simultaneously affirm our humanity in the face of it. The person who lives among ruins learns to find beauty precisely in precariousness. Like those plants that grow among the stones of ancient buildings, authentic life flourishes in the spaces left by the demolition of illusions. It is not a perfect or harmonious beauty, but an honest beauty, born of the courageous acceptance of reality as it is. This experience radically transforms relationships with others. Those who awaken to the truth develop a deeper understanding of human solidarity, not because we all share the same values or goals, but because we all share the same fundamental condition of beings thrown into an indifferent universe, forced to create meaning where there is no pre-established meaning. It is a solidarity based not on agreement, but on compassion in the face of the universal human condition. At the same time, this person often feels misunderstood by those who still live within conventional structures. Your questions sound like unnecessary complications. Your doubts sound like pessimism. Your search for authenticity is interpreted as pretentiousness or instability. And so a distance is established, not by choice, but by necessity. It is not possible to return to innocence after awakening to the truth. But perhaps you are wondering, what kind of life is this? Is it worth awakening if it means living among ruins, facing loneliness, abandoning comforting certainties? And maybe deep down, you already know the answer. Because if you've come this far, if these words resonate within you, it's likely that the awakening has already begun. And it's not a question of choosing whether it's worth it or not. It's a matter of recognizing what is already happening. Leave your experience in the comments. Have you ever felt this strange sensation of waking up to something you would rather not have seen? That moment when family life suddenly becomes strange? Share your story, because maybe your words are exactly what someone else needs to hear to feel less alone in this process. After all, although awakening is lonely, we don't need to walk alone among the ruins. Camus had a powerful image to describe this human condition: Sisyphus pushing his boulder up the mountain, eternally. In Greek myth, Sisyphus was condemned by the gods to push a huge boulder to the top of a mountain, only to have it roll back into the valley, forcing him to start the task over and over again. For many, this would be the perfect image of despair, but Camus saw something different there. He saw the possibility of human dignity in the face of absurdity. The most important moment in Sisyphus' story, according to Camus, is not when he struggles to push the boulder up the mountain. That's when he goes down the mountain, walking behind the rolled stone. In this moment of pause, in this interval between the end of one effort and the beginning of the next, Sisyphus has the opportunity to contemplate his condition. And it is there, Camus suggests, that we should imagine him happy. Happy not because your situation has changed. The stone will continue to roll, the mountain will continue to be steep, the task will continue to be infinite. Happy because he understood his situation completely and chose to embrace it. He chose to find dignity in the very act of continuing, beauty in the movement even when the movement leads nowhere, meaning in the effort even when the effort seems futile. This is the condition of one who awakens to the truth. He sees clearly that there is no glorious final destination awaiting, that there is no cosmic reward for virtue, that there is no universal justice guaranteeing that everything will work out in the end. And even so, or precisely because of this, he chooses to continue living, creating, loving, fighting, not because these actions have transcendent meaning, but because he chooses to give them meaning. Life among ruins is not a life of passive resignation. It is a life of constant creation. Each day the awakened person needs to recreate the reasons for living, redefine what they consider valuable, rebuild their relationship with the world. It is exhausting work, but also deeply liberating. Because when you understand that there is no pre-established itinerary, you realize that all possibilities are open. This does not mean that everything is permitted or that there are no consequences for our actions. It means we are completely responsible for our choices. We cannot blame God, fate, society, or human nature for the decisions we make. We are, as Camus said, condemned to be free. And this freedom, although terrifying, is also our greatest dignity. The person who lives among ruins develops a particular relationship with time. She no longer lives constantly projecting herself into the future, hoping that some event or achievement will finally give definitive meaning to her life. Nor do you live stuck in the past, regretting choices made or opportunities lost. She learns to inhabit the present with intensity because she understands that it is only in the present that life really happens. Each moment becomes precious not because it is part of a grand plan, but precisely because it is not part of any plan. Each experience is unique, irreversible, irreplaceable. A conversation with a friend, the taste of coffee in the morning, the sunlight streaming through the window, all of this takes on a new intensity when you're no longer waiting for real life to begin at some point in the future. This intensity of the present also transforms the relationship with suffering. Those who live among ruins do not seek to eliminate suffering from life, because they understand that this would be eliminating an essential part of the human experience. Instead, he learns to suffer with dignity, to find in his own suffering a way of affirming life, not because suffering is good in itself, but because facing it courageously is a way of honoring our human condition. This is one of Camus' greatest lessons. Courage is not the absence of fear or pain, but the ability to continue living fully despite fear and pain. The person who has awakened to the truth knows that life inevitably includes loss, disappointment, injustice, death, and choose to live intensely not in spite of these elements, but including them as integral parts of the human experience. There is something deeply heroic about this choice, not the heroism of great feats or monumental achievements, but the everyday heroism of those who get up every day knowing that there are no guarantees and yet choose to participate fully in life. It is the heroism of those who love knowing that they can lose, of those who create knowing that their creations are ephemeral, of those who fight for justice knowing that injustice will always exist. If you've come this far, if these reflections have awakened something within you, know that you are not alone on this journey. We are a community of people who have chosen to face the big questions of existence with honesty and courage. Subscribe to the channel not just to watch more content, but to be part of a conversation that can transform our understanding of what it means to be alive. Living among ruins, finally, is not a condemnation. It's an opportunity. The opportunity to build something authentically yours on the rubble of lost illusions. The opportunity to create beauty where there was once only convention, to find love where there was once only habit, to discover purpose where there was once only obligation. Camus reminds us that absurdity is not something to be resolved or overcome, but something to be lived with. And in the art of living the absurd with elegance, dignity, and passion, we discover not the answer to the meaning of life, but something perhaps more valuable: the infinite capacity of the human being to create meaning where there is no meaning, to find light where there is only darkness, to affirm life even when life seems to deny us. When you leave here today, when you return to your everyday activities, remember, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to pretend that you completely understand the mystery of existence. You just need to have the courage to live your questions, to inhabit your uncertainties with dignity, to create beauty and meaning, not because the universe demands it, but because you, in your radical freedom, choose to do so. And in this daily choice, in this constant creation of meaning among the ruins of lost certainties, lies all the possible greatness of the human adventure.